just you know, it's nice. It's nice that people are recognizing that there's something human about being an artist that an AI will simply never have. There's soul in art. You know, a lot of people think art is it has to be a Mona Lisa or something, and it's like no, there's soul in a child's stick figure. Okay, more soul than you'll ever get in AI type thing. That's good. Yeah, that's a good thing. So, just doing this tree right here. Yep, crazy stuff in the world. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Everybody's gone crazy. Seems like sometimes. You know, you go to the store and everybody's kind of bonkers. And what do you guys think of that EBT apocalypse? Holy smokes. A bunch of people are going apeshit over that. And it's like it's not even a for sure thing yet. Not even a for sure thing yet. I mean, I get why people would be freaking out. I was on EBT for a long time. When I got custody of my son. I needed it. But, you know, I was already working too, so X amount of hours, enough to, you know, get some and get some help when I needed it, you know, and I'm very thankful for that. I've also been a taxpayer most of my life, so, you know, it is what it is at that point. But no, I can see why people are freaking out, especially over stupid stuff with the government shutting down. And did you know when the government shuts down, like federal employees don't get paid, and the military isn't getting paid? Crazy. But did you know the politicians do keep getting paid? Did you know that? I didn't know that. I knew that, you know, people stop getting paid, but I figure if anybody's not going to get paid, wouldn't it be the government? Nope, they get paid. I couldn't believe that. That's when I was like, wow. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. Yep. You know, it was, when I lived out in California, one of the things I like drawing is like cryptids and whatnot. And I remember when I was living out in California, shortly before we left and moved out of there, I started hearing about this cryptid. You know, since it was predominantly Hispanic, back then, just as it is now in Southern California, there's a lot of culture rub-off, you know, and something that was starting to pop up was the chupacabra, the goat sucker. When I was leaving, that was starting to get more and more popular in and around the area that I was in, and it'd be nice to. I think one of these days I'm gonna do one of these like I'm doing right now, drawing this demonstration drawing here. I think I'm gonna make a chupacabra, and, you know, several other urban legends and cryptids of varying degrees. I think that would be interesting. It would be very interesting. Yeah, anyway. So, this is where we're at with the drawing so far. We'll be done with this guy pretty quick. Just kind of finishing up some small details on the, you know, the leaves of the tree here. And sorry if you can hear that. The maintenance guys are mowing the grass, something. So we'll get some winter coming here pretty quick. I can't believe 2025 is almost over. That's to me, it's just like, where to go? Maybe it's just because I'm getting old that time seems like it's just zipping by. I mean, you always hear that when you're young, you know, time flies, whatever. But like, it's honestly flying. Like, it literally flew out of here. You know, it chartered first class ticket and flew out of here. Crazy talk. Yeah. Yep. Crazy stuff. So yeah, like I told my kid all the time, man, you need to get on that. don't learn how to code. AI is coding. That's all over with. But I said you need content creation is where it's at. And as soon as I'm comfortable with him going on the internet a fair amount, then I'm going to tell him you need to start messing around. Get yourself a webcam and, you know, just do what you're doing. Just watch the shows you're watching. I mean, look at how famous those people got just from reacting to stuff, you know, like Flamingo and PewDiePie and all those guys that he watches. You know, most of their content is reacting. That's it. They're reacting to other people's shit. You know, and it's like, man, do something with that. Make some money doing that. So we'll put a couple dots in here to kind of liven that up a little bit. So there's that tree. Now, we got the oil container in there. The oil drum. I think we will start making some oil bleeding out now. Out of the ring here. Yeah. Kind of like it's pooling up in the tree ring, you know. Right here. Bleeding everywhere. So then, kind of having it go up like that. Always have it bleeding over the edge like such. You know, I was watching a movie that I really like from when I was younger that a lot of people don't like. A lot of people think it's the worst one in the franchise. I think it's not the worst one. I was watching Alien 3. I always loved that one. I always, you know, it's a little, yeah, it's more depressing, that's for sure. I mean, you got me there. It's definitely more depressing. But I always liked the soundtrack in it. And the original music. It's very cool. And, but I was thinking about the Weyland-Yutani Company, right? The company, as they call it. And I remember thinking when I was a kid about that. Because, you know, a lot of the stuff when I was a kid, when I was younger, you know, they didn't have all the director's cuts and all that kind of crap. When I was a kid, you saw a movie and that's how you grew up with it. You know, like in the first Alien movie, there's a scene with Dallas that was a cutoff where he was part of the egg, you know, he's being developed into an egg, you know, because you never saw Dallas get killed in Alien. You just saw him, you know, and then he's gone. Well, Ripley later on in the movie finds him and Parker, Brett, who's almost turned into an egg, and he tells her to kill him, and she has a flamethrower, and she does it, but they took that out for time or for effort or for whatever. And in the second movie, there's some things like that too. Some deleted scenes. I think it's with Parker. You know, this sleazy corporate guy who made everything happen the way it did in the movie. And he gets taken by an alien too. And in the movie, you just assume he gets killed. You know, he opens the door after ditching everybody, and all you see is a close-up of the alien's, you know, mouth opening up, and you're like, oh, you got it, yeah. You know, less is more, you know, it leaves it up to your imagination. And I'm sure that's what they wanted you to think, because they didn't end up putting that scene in the movie, in the final movie. And years later, I see that scene, you know, along with the scene of earlier in the movie when Parker is telling Ripley how long she's been in hypersleep. And she asks about her kid, and he shows her the picture of the old lady who was her kid. It'd be trippy. Yeah, but anyway, I was watching Alien 3, which I always liked, and I came across this cutscene that I hadn't seen before where it shows the alien face hugger. They're in the prison, and one of the prisoners picks it up, and he's holding it up, and it's like freaking 10 times bigger than a normal one, and it ends up being a queen face hugger. That's how Ripley got the queen in her when she was on the Sulaco before they crashed down to Fiorano 161. But that thing was like, it was like this big with like a tail that was, it was unreal. And man, but it got me thinking about just that world, the alien world, with because several different things exist in the alien world. You figure obviously the aliens exist, but so do the Yautja, the predator. So does humanity, and amongst other aliens, obviously, and who knows what else. But it got me thinking, like in the third movie, before she jumps in the lava, the bishop not android guy is there to swindle her. And he was saying, we're going to take it out of you, and so you can go home and have kids and live happily ever after. And it made me thinking, like, how scumsuckery, this company that's ruined your life. And now they're here. And you can see in the movie how she almost falls for it. She almost falls, because he says it in such a way, oh, you can get out of here and have a family again, and, and we'll kill it, and blah, blah, blah. But it was all bullshit. He just wanted the alien so that he could exploit it. And after she's kind of shown her resolve, comes clean. And I thought that was kind of interesting, how he came clean. Look at all the things we can learn from it. It's a chance of a lifetime. You must let me have it. And it kind of made me think about these companies today. How they all kind of tell us what we want to hear while doing something else. And it made me kind of think, like, what are they going to say when they're caught? Like Bishop was caught, when he went from, we'll take that out of you so you can go home and have a kids and a family, and us, the Weyland-Yutani Corporation, can pay you vast amounts of money for the horseshit we put you through for the last 60 years. And it's like, you believe that? And it's sad because human nature is you want to believe that. You want to believe that things can be better. You want to believe that, second, third chances. And you see it in her face in the movie where she's mulling over it, She's mulling over it. Well, it would be nice to, go home and have a family and live my life. But it's like, if she would have chose that in the movie, they would have just put her in a room on that spaceship and let that thing come flying out of her, and then they would have just thrown her body out into space. And that would have been that. And, yeah, she wanted to believe that they were going to help, but they weren't. And it makes me wonder what our big companies are going to do when they get caught. What are all our huge conglomerates going to say when they're busted, It's a chance of a lifetime. Must let me have it, Ripley. Alright, so we're done with the tree part for the most part, I think. Do a little bit over here, a little detail here, just to say I did it. So yeah, hopefully this gets a little, a little traction, and like I said, the longer I do this, the better off I'll get, the better the lighting will be, the better everything will be. And just give me that chance and I'll do what I can for you. If there's certain things anybody wants me to draw or whatever, I can always think of that. I was thinking, what I was thinking is, like, once I have things down a little better and I have an idea, I was thinking what would be nice would be to take, like, 3 45-minute videos of me drawing one thing, 1 section, 2 section, 3 section, and finish it up on the third one, and to take those and like I'm doing right now, and put those out as videos, section 1, part 2, part 3, and then take make the 4th video, all 3 of those put together back to back, and then times 4 speed, so you can see the illustration come together quickly with a different overlay, speaking about whatever over that. And that way it would be 4 longer videos a week along with the daily shorts that I make. So we'll see what happens. Trying to figure out a schedule. There we go, a little detail there. Alright, so the oil can is enveloped in the tree and it's being eaten by nature, because nature will always win. And that's what I think of when anybody talks about global warming or our effect on the planet. Like, yeah, I agree that we have an effect on the planet. I just don't think it's as bad as people think. I think the planet has spit up and chewed up and spit out a lot worse than us. Alright, so this is going to be out of the frame for a tiny bit. I'm going to, do one thing here. Just want to know where it's at so that I can have this a little more centered to work on it. Okay. So now we're going to work on this guy, his face and everything, because he's getting pulled apart here. So, yeah. Speaking of aliens, I see they just released something new, Alien Earth or something. I'll have to check that out, see what it's all about. I watch things like The Critical Drinker, and I watch all these people, and they pretty much always have the same idea of a movie like that. It's, I think they're kind of purists. Nothing against them. They're some of my favorite people, content-wise, but I think they're, if it's not the original shit, then it's shit, period, And, there's been a lot of things I've watched that I heard were bad, and I checked them out for myself, and they weren't as bad as people thought. Were they bad? Sure, but they weren't as bad. Like, I'm a diehard Star Trek fan. Diehard, ever since I was a kid. And, I've tried to embrace the new Trek, and I just can't do it. And, a big part of that was people, these, content creators that, kind of told me, this is garbage, this isn't real Trek. And, I'm embarrassed to say I kind of just went with it for